Hello Santa Cruz, and welcome to another exciting episode of Banana Slug News. I'm Christina Bashai.
And I'm Noah Shamo, and we have an excitingly packed show this week, so let's get started. Party life for UC Santa Cruz students has been in jeopardy since last June, when the city amended the party ordinance. The alterations have left many students struggling to fight for their right to party. Here with more is my co-anchor, Christina Bashai. Christina?
Last summer, the City of Santa Cruz amended the noise ordinance by issuing tougher penalties on those in violation, including charges that could accumulate into a $1,000 fine and a misdemeanor. Since then, students have seen a dramatic change in the city and police department's attitude towards unruly gatherings. In past years, UC Santa Cruz's party life has caught the eye of the Princeton Review, which named UC Santa Cruz the nation's #3 party school in 2001, and Rolling Stone magazine, which deemed Santa Cruz the most stoned campus in 2003. In response, the city has begun to create stricter regulations for underage drinking and unruly parties.
In the city of Santa Cruz, and this is probably very similar with lots of other communities that have university towns or large young populations for one reason or another, there are a lot of really wild and out-of-control parties going on, and particularly in the area on the west side near the university and University Terrace and the places right below the university. So a lot of the neighbors got organized in Santa Cruz and started saying something has to be done about this. We've got to respond to it. And they started calling council members, and I'm one of the council members that called them back and said, what's the problem? And we started having meetings. So what's the problem? What can we do about it? What can happen? So basically I began working on a party ordinance to try and deal with the question of when these kind of big out-of-control parties happen, what's the consequence of it?
Violations for noise complaints have drastically changed in the past year. Violators are limited to one warning within 12 months. If they receive another noise complaint, fines will be issued. $250 for the first violation, $500 for the second, and $1,000 for the third, including a misdemeanor charge. On top of the fines, violators will also be responsible to pay for the officer's time. If violators are found to be underage, the parents or legal guardians of the violator will be held responsible.
What I've heard is that there's been a lot less of these really out-of-control parties. When the police show up, people pretty much shut the party down without having to call for backup and 7 or 8 police cars to show up to sort of close the party down, because people know there's going to be big consequences if they sort of make it more difficult than an officer saying, close it down.
In the past year, there have been a total of 2,579 noise complaints made to the Santa Cruz Police Department, and 1,124 of these were made on the west side where the campus is located. Since the ordinance was passed, few of these parties have escalated beyond warnings.
What we've heard from the neighborhood, especially on the west side, is that there has been a decline in the number of large-scale parties that were happening over there since the ordinance took place, even though we haven't issued that many tickets regarding this ordinance. At least the neighbors are saying that in their neighborhood, the number of large-scale parties are reducing. I think the ordinance is the first step. It's only a year old, and I think though that word has been getting out even among college students that I still communicate with. I think that they understand that this ordinance exists and what the consequences are of having large-scale parties. It's not, you have absolutely nothing to be concerned about if you're having a regular party in your home and everything's normal. When you start having large-scale parties where people are spilling into the street, a lot of underage drinking outside, and vandalism, obviously, you can probably expect that the police department will be coming.
Students have found these alterations unfair. Consequences for violators have escalated in a short amount of time, and many students are left unprepared and in fear of being charged fines they cannot afford.
Well, I think it's obvious they're targeting students because, we're the ones that are throwing the parties, so I think they're doing it to try to prevent parties, but really, this is a college town, and I feel like there's going to be parties regardless of the fine, so yeah. I don't think it's really going to make that much of a difference.
Since the ordinance was passed last year, only 4 households have been fined, but UC Santa Cruz students remain apprehensive. Despite the students' opposition, the city and police have seen drastic changes and will continue to enforce the new ordinance. This is Christina Bashai reporting for Banana Slug News. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Christina. I'll be sure to keep that in mind next time I throw a party.
Suicide is the third leading cause of death among young people in the United States. Here to tell us more about the facts and resources available on campus is BSN reporter Mona Lisa Noor Mohammadi.